So an article was just posted recently from the MTG Judge website, and I think there's some really important changes to go over in there. Some small form ones, some big form ones, and just some general PSAs to the Magic community. If you like videos like this, leave a like down below and let me know in the comment section what you would like to see next for these talking head style stuff. I love doing some reactions, and I love giving some updates on some general constructed play and behavior that's moving Magic forward in a positive direction. Now, if we're going to talk about the Judge Academy and just judges in general, I think it's important to note that for all of you that remember, as of October 13th, Wizards of the Coast will no longer be partnering with the Judge Academy. It's through this announcement right here, they talk about, appreciating the Judge Academy, and then, in the interim, they expect the judge conferences and stuff to continue at Magic Cons, and if they have any judging questions in large scale, just to contact organizers of the large scale events, but there's no replacement at hand. Judges have been one of the core facets of competitive and just play in general throughout Magic's history, and really about play in the gathering. They're important members of the community that helped create and just enforce the rules that are important, whether they be about the game or outside of the game, which we're going to talk about in a second. And it's really unfortunate to see that sites like the Judge Academy really just get left in the dust and put behind. One of the central facets of organization in the gathering inside of Magic, seeing it being left behind with no replacement coming up is really unfortunate. And from this announcement, we even see again, as I mentioned, from that kind of link down below there, contact people like this for replacement. So if you're a judge yourself, you're probably going through this, but for those of you lay people that are generally just playing, maybe you're just playing online, you don't know what's going on with the judges, they've largely been left behind. Even being a core facet of the game, I mean, if you're playing digitally, the game itself judges itself. Cheating is a little bit more complicated when you're playing online. You have to go through a couple more hoops, but in paper it can be rampant, and judges are important to keep that stuff in line. So it's really unfortunate that this stuff is being left behind, but it's great to see that updates are still coming down the line from judges, from the judges websites, and again, as I mentioned, moving the game forward in a positive manner, which is what we're going to talk about throughout this video. Finally, this is just like an open letter FAQ from the Judge Academy. I'm going to be leaving a link to all of this in the description down below. So if you wanted to check out each and every one of the articles or the websites that I'm going to talk about here, go to the description and you're going to find them all here. But this FAQ just generally talks about what is the near future direction of Judges Academy. They're going to be going free. There's still going to be some resources here and there. And what can you expect out of everything left, especially going into next year's competitive schedule? What is judging going to look like from there? Before, historically, they haven't really been paid employees. There's been a lot of back and forth between the legality of that and having to provide benefits and paying them in weird ways with promos. It's been a whole damn thing. But again, as I mentioned, I'm happy to see that updates like this, policy perspectives, is still coming down the line for Magic in general. So we're going to kind of go through this, and then I'm going to go through what each kind of section of this article is talking about and just provide a good, real whole scale update as to how this applies to you as a general Magic player, and how we should really be focusing on things like this instead of yelling into the void about how bad Scam is making Modern. And although that is still relevant, let's go to the article. Policy update for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Hordes can be sneaky too. When we released a new definition of an authorized card with the last update, we were all fairly confident there's going to be a bunch of weird corners that they'd have to patch up for the next update. After all, there have been a ton of strange product releases over the past many years. Amazingly, there's only one thing that they had to really clean up. Back in the original Theros block, there's something called Challenge of the God Horde decks, and they had different backings, and it looks like this. So they're in these special packs, and they had this weird backing on them. They technically met the standard of legality, but they don't, because they have a weird Magic card back. You can't really change the Magic card back. That's part of the key facet of what makes a legitimate Magic card. So although they had templates, they had a weird card back, so you can't really keep it. And this article from this section from MTG Wiki just kind of goes over it pretty well. They're just not legal. So that's important to note. And the other thing that they also caught was stuff called Heroes of the Realm. So for those who don't know, this is series of Magic cards that was given out to like people that did really well on the Wizards team. They had like really big changes, or just like awarded cards. These cards like this, like Nira Hellkite Duelist, that aren't legal in any Magic sense whatsoever, because it has a non-standard Magic back. So if you look, it says like Heroes of the Realm. So again, understanding legality on your side. If it has a strange Magic back, ask in terms of where it's legal and how it's played. Plane Chase is also another weird one, but that's also a special case where it's designed for multiplayer Commander. It's not legal in 60 card constructed. It has a different card back, but it's like oversized, and it's like very clear that it's different and wants to be legal in a different way, whereas this has like the sizing of a standard Magic card but doesn't do that. So that's important to understand in terms of legality. So going back to the article, the regulation also includes like the thickness of the card. So no sneaky extra strength Commander cards. So you'll notice in recent precons that you've been purchasing, there's actually the face Commander and a thicker, like a Stranger Hollow version of it. That's actually not legal as well. You could probably use it for Commander purposes and everything, but many casual players will probably be asking that question. Many of you in franchise Magic players know, but for the purposes of maybe using it as like a token on a Commander field, sure, ask your playgroup beforehand. But the quick hits section is really what I wanted to talk about here. So first and foremost, in April 2022, Judge Academy published a statement on intentional misgendering as unsporting conduct major. Nothing in the unsupporting conduct USC-Major rules needed to be updated to accommodate it, but we've added it as an example. So I think this is important to note again, because there's this whole thing about being woke and like, you know, not working with other people's beliefs because you've been raised a certain way. So why should you have to follow other people? Look, at the end of the day, what it comes down to, whether or not you have beliefs or not, there is an idea of bullying. I think many of you can follow that as well. If someone asks you to not do something, for example, you're in school, right? Let's go through a general example. You meet someone in the 6th grade, right? Tensions are high. Kids are super, hormonal. They're mad and sad at everything. You meet someone and let's say I meet someone. I say, hey, my name is Shaf. What's your name? And they tell me, hey, my name is Dakota. And me, being a 6th grader with no common knowledge whatsoever and no sense of being outside and public training, say, hey, Dakota, that's a girl's name. You look like a guy. And so there's all these like problematic things with this already, right? We're making all these assumptions about gender and everything. And so if I just remove the gender aspect of it, right? And I just talk about the name, right? And I start saying things like Dakota's a dumb name. Right. So I've already gone the line of this is like a gender problem, but let's remove the gender problem and just let me go down a different route and say Dakota is a dumb name. I'm going to call you Michael. Hey, Michael. And I just kept saying that over and over and over again. Wouldn't you be annoyed if someone didn't call you by your name? If you were named Dakota and I just kept calling you Michael because I wanted to, isn't that rude? Isn't that annoying? Like, would you feel welcome and happy in a place? Like, would you want to be acquainted with that person? No, not whatsoever. So I think there are extremes on both sides of the conversation, right? But at the core end of it, people just want to be accepted. They don't want to be bullied, and they just want to play the game. Going after someone's, whatever you want to call it, you want to call it gender politics, going after their gender and their pronouns and everything doesn't have to do with the game. You have to sit down, you have to solve one of the most complicated puzzles in all of gaming, which is a game of Magic the Gathering. You have to do some mulligans, you have to shuffle, you have to go through the interactions, and intentionally misgendering someone is not it. Maybe you make a mistake and the person is willing to give you another chance. You accidentally misgender someone, they give you their proper pronouns, and then you just move on from there. You use the proper pronoun and you know what? That's it. You learn from there. It's important to know that at the end of the day, for the 3rd and 4th time, people just don't want to be bullied. That's it. If someone asks you to do something, they're not threatening you. They're just asking like, hey, this is my name. I'd appreciate it if you didn't, call me this name. My name's actually Dakota. Don't call me Michael. You say, okay, you know what? My bad. That was a dumb joke. I won't do it again. Hey, Dakota. Just move on. That's it. That's my little 2-minute rant about it. Okay. So just move on. Don't misgender people. Just accept people, and it's okay if you make a mistake. Just talk to the person and don't be weird about it. Companions weren't currently part of the pregame procedure. They got added in with a little more guidance around when a companion should and shouldn't be considered present. Basically, once you present one, you're good with the match until you want to change it. So this is important because you run into this at like casual REL, like a lot, where like you go into a game, you shuffle up, you decide who's going to play first, you keep, and all of a sudden your opponent's like, oh wait, my bad, my companion's Gigantha, right? And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna like mulligan because, you know, like I'm gonna make a different decision. And then they're like, no, you already kept your hand, you can't do that. And then they bring in a judge, and then they start lying, and then they're like, oh, I already presented my thing, like, oh, they didn't hear. Like, call them out, because it's important that they get it from the beginning. And this stuff matters, especially in formats like Modern, where if a card like Gigantha is presented, you know that they do not have cards like Force Negation. They are going to be like Tron or like single mana Death Shadow or something. Like they're if they play Death Shadow, you know the one counterspell that they have. It's important information because then you can play around specific types of interaction. So it's important that this comes out first, it gets presented, and then you start making your decisions from there. You start making your mulligan decisions from there. It's important to know it wasn't really a formal thing. It's good that it's formalized, it can be enforced, and stop cheating. Stop trying to find ways to cheat by presenting your companion late and just running people out. It's important that it got presented after. Speaking of companions or companion, the end of match description now includes a reminder for players that are required to submit results before leaving the table. Also 2.4 and 2.5 got swapped. So it was like the end of game procedures, and then it was like conceding early are like swapped. That's what it was. I'll link it down below. But this is just like really important because people will lie. So what, especially with the companion app, a common thing that I'll tell people to do is once you're done your match, report it yourself and confirm with the player and say, hey, here's the report. Is this okay with you? And then submit. Don't be sneaky. Don't be like, I submitted. Say up front, like, hey, I lost. I'm just shuffling. I'm putting stuff away. Can you wait to report? Or do you mind reporting and show me? Or can I report and then I'll show you? Be really upfront. See what they are reporting. And you know what? They don't need to touch your screen if you don't want that, but you know, like you can still press submit. But it's really important that you give people a chance. Stop cheating that way. Stop doing this for a couple extra store credit. What are you going to do with that? Buy some foils? You're a loser if you're trying to you cheat people out for foils. Let's be honest. Okay. Stop cheating. I'm really happy stuff like this is out there. And then, well, that's kind of that first screen, but at the end of it, there was a little confusion over wording in the fix to a deck problem where the opponent gets to choose whether to apply a fix. So the sentence got rephrased to make the order of operation clear. Who knows? But I think it's important to note that they're always focusing on the legality of a magic card, which is important as we get so many funky versions and types of magic cards out there. It's great that they're, you know, making unsportsmanlike behavior and enforcing it in these changing times. People just don't want to be bullied. It's not about misgendering or gender politics or anything. People just don't want to be bullied. This type of behavior of continual intentional misgendering is just bullying. Okay, you can make an analogous situation that people be like, yeah, I wouldn't want that done to me, but I don't care about it in the context of pronouns. You're a loser, right? That's crappy behavior. Don't be like that. We don't need people like you in the gathering. Go somewhere else. Okay, no one, like, people are like, oh, you're stopping me from interacting. No one wants you anywhere. If you want to be like that in any group setting, no one would want you there. In any sport, in any game, in any public situation, people just want good vibes. They just want to chill. Like, they just want to come back from their tough lives, play some games, not be bullied. Stop doing that. And companions, and then just kind of speaking on end of match stuff, really important that rules are enforced at the start of games and at the end of games, especially in a paper setting. People love taking advantage of you. Always watch out for stuff like this. And it's great that it's now being further enforced. That's it for the video. I blabbered on enough. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, kind of this, the changes or updates to some of these rules and what you'd like to see from the Judge Academy further in the future. Later.